What did it mean for the Pacers to finally win a game after 16 straight losses? JMV from 107.5 The Fan joins me to talk about that. The veterans for the Pacers, what they have to prove the rest of the season, Kam Jones, prospects, the NCAA tournament, and so much more on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin. And today, JMV from 107.5. The Fan's going to stop by. We have a lot to get to. The Pacers won a game. I don't know if you saw. Big news. What does it actually mean for the players and the team? And what does it say about what this season has been, that they were so thrilled to have finally won that game? To the veterans of the Pacers, Siakam, Nesmith, Nembhard, McConnell, Toppin. Is there anything else for them to prove with the Pacers having around 10 more games to go? We talk a little bit of Kam Jones because of his contract reality. We talk a little NCAA tournament. JMV has lottery conspiracy theories. We had a lot to talk about. We get to all of it right now on Locked On Pacers. You've heard him, you know him, you love him every day on 107.5, the Fans' latest show in their local programming. It's JMV himself. You've heard this. You've seen the JMV Sucks shirts. I disagree, JMV. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, for a reason in the afternoon. The last show on the schedule for a reason, buddy.
You get the home commuters. That's a great time.
I love it. I've been doing that time. In fact, going all the way back to when I was the producer for Mark Patrick starting in 2000 at a different station here in this market. I've been, 3 until 6 for the better part of 25, now 26 years, which is a hell of a run.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of the last, the Pacers are in last, but climbing, JMV. They won a game last night, 2 nights ago, in this episode is actually airing. And of course, there's a lot of back and forth of, the standings and the inverse standings are a big thing, but they lost 16 in a row. That never happened ever in either of our lifetimes, in anyone's lifetime. It had never happened ever. And right before we started, you mentioned this, but you could see Siakam doing post-game with Jeremiah Johnson, big smile, describing the last play, really excited about his battle with Paolo Banchero, talking about his teammates in their big plays, just like what it meant for them to win once, right? And I'm curious, even in the context of this team clearly angling for the bottom 3 as they should be, to be clear, what you feel like it meant for this group of players to actually win one game.
I thought, again, Siakam said it best. He really did. Quinn called it a mic drop moment, and it was because we owe, by the way, or at least I know I do, and I know the fans can do as well, for the betterment of the future of the franchise, losing's okay. And we described it, Tony, as a gap season. I make fun of the gap season all the time in terms of, hey, it's okay to lose. But for these guys who are heavily invested, unlike anybody else, even if they do get paid handsomely for it, losing is wearing. 16 consecutive losses, that probably drives you as a competitor a little bit nuts, Tony. So you could tell there was a great deal of real relief. We hope a lot of this season, what we have seen, right, is not real, is make-believe. And again, it's just a part of that gap season. But what you saw in that reaction of the walk-off with JJ last night from Pascal Siakam, that was real. That was real emotion from a real high-level, elite-level competitor, because they finally got a chance to talk about it after a win. And you could see there was a big weight lifted off the shoulders. And I thought that in a season that is really long, and we're talking about now maybe subtracting some games. I know that Steve Kerr brought this up, and Rick kind of brought something up regarding that. What Steve Kerr brought up, we're talking about maybe there's too many games and, all of it gets kind of watered down. That was not at all a watered down comment. That was a real comment, and it was cool to see last night after that win.
Yeah, I think since the break, they've played the Wizards twice, the Kings, the Mavs, the Grizzlies. Like those specific games, I think everybody understands why there was extra potential benefit for the Pacers to not beat those teams. The other 11 teams they played in the 16-game losing streak were better teams than the Pacers, and the Pacers were hurt. Like I could easily explain to you why they lost 16 games in a row and why people cared less than they would in basically any other situation. And yet you can see when they actually win what they're trying to do and what it means for these guys to show something of like, hey, we're still good players. Like I know that we don't have Tyrese Haliburton, but this whole group made the finals last year. Now, it's not like that is the difference between them winning 15 games and 50. And so to have an actual chance to go out, play connected ball, prove it maybe one more time, we'll see how many more they actually put that level of effort into. I mean, that was Kobe Brown's first DNP since joining the team, right? Like they clearly put their best rotation out there. Okay, they're still a legit group when that happens, right? Do they do it again? Who knows? Because they have 10 games left. If they win 3 or fewer, check. Guaranteed best odds possible. That is, of course, very tantalizing and sitting right in front of them. But for one night, I do think, as you saw with the celebrations, especially Pascal, right, based in Orlando in the offseason, it meant a lot to everybody. And that is, at least from a human element, I liked that part of this.
There's no doubt about that too. And like I said, it's easy for us, I think, to draw the conclusion that it's better to lose. And we talk about it. And I hate all these nerdy terms like draft capital, and and I said this all the time on this show, going back years now. Draft capital and entertaining losses, I've never been a big fan of. But this year, like I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, you've got a group of guys that are out there that you mentioned. Kobe Brown got a DNP, and I think Kam Jones, he didn't get up off the pine either, at least late in that game last night. And they were playing that to clearly win. But we oftentimes, Tony, we see guys that we expect to see next year at an elite level that's competing for an Eastern Conference championship. At least that's what I expect. And you've got 3 of the 5 dudes out there are guys that we're going to see. And not only is that incredibly prideful for them, but it makes us stop and think, all right, if you can't cobble together something better than 16 consecutive losses playing a lot of the dudes that are going to be around here, should we stop and think a little bit maybe how we're putting the cart before the horse upon Haliburton's return and the implementation of a healthy Zubac and hopefully a top 4 selection in the lottery coming up here in the June draft? Are we putting that in front of what the reality is, that some of these dudes right now aren't playing up to, even with a bad team, the expectations? And at least for the moment last night with the group that was out there that we saw, including Pascal Siakam, who's not been one of those dudes, he's played his absolute tail off. And really, I think the guys have played. They just have not been successful. But questions like that will, I think, notably arise, and at least for an evening, you can squash that particular sentiment.
I've wondered that myself, like in these games that let's be real, the guys that we're talking about, they know the games don't matter, right? So like, right. How much are they really beat up over their mistakes? And I'm not even saying this to like absolve them of any, they still have poor games, but does it actually matter? They've all been playing at different times. But certainly, yes, I think even in games the Pacers have been as healthy as they could be this season, they've been disappointed in themselves. Ironically, as we're talking about this, Pascal Siakam just posted on Instagram about Orlando and said home away from home, right? Like it's a special place for him to have balled out, right? We were on it.
Yeah.
So you kind of got into my follow-up part of this one game, which is there's not 10 left, which is a nice round, tiny number. They've played 72 of 82. Is there anything left for these core veterans to prove to you this season in this situation where it is doesn't matter that much? Is there anything Siakam or Nembhard or Nesmith or Toppin could actually do in these 10 games that would really matter to you?
No, not really. Just stay healthy, I guess, right? I guess the one thing, Tony, the one thing that occurs to me, and like we try to have this both ways. I know conversational, I do this on the show. I'll be arguing one side and then you'll immediately go to the other side. And regarding Siakam, have you thought about this season? Because clearly that dude has played his ass off. Have you thought about whether or not at his age in a season that is clearly throwaway and it's okay if they lose, just how worn to the nub he has been, even with the time that he has missed over the course of the season? That may be a concern. Maybe I'm overly concerned about it, but that is one thing about this entire situation that has occurred to me is, whether or not for a guy that has spent that much time in the NBA for a season that just doesn't matter unless you're losing and putting yourself in the best possible position for good fortune on Mother's Day, has he been a little bit worn out in a season, as I mentioned, that doesn't matter?
Everybody, quick breaks. We can talk about two wonderful groups of people. First up is Quo. Spring is a natural reset point. If there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it is messy communications, missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That is why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews. Trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number, so you don't have to miss a call, text, or opportunity. The part that most people love, everything lives in one clean thread. The calls, the text, the voicemails, the whole team can see the conversation. Nothing falls through the cracks, and the AI summarizes, saves serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It makes your business organized and responsive. Make this the season where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Let's also quickly talk about Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action. So when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. Many people know the game, but don't have a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now they can. Live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trades involve significant risk and is not appropriate for everybody. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered future commission merchant swap firm. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Check out Locked On Lakers next. They have LeBron and Luka. They're in town tonight. They just lost to the Pistons, breaking a winning streak. And check out the Everydayer Club. You can get your first month free with the code MARCH. You'll unlock ad-free episodes of Locked On Pacers, entry into a private listener group chat, and you can check the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer to learn more and claim your free month. Now let's get right back to it with JMV. Yeah, it's the same with McConnell, too. It's like he turns 34 very soon, a few days from when this episode comes out. And what mileage do you want to put on those guys? Because everybody knew this already, but like when Furphy's injury happened, you're immediately like, that's the fear. Like that happening. No offense to Furphy. He actually played pretty well this year, but like him missing however many months to start next season does not dramatically, if at all, change the Pacers' fortunes or planning. But if like a real core player had that happen, it would be a disaster, right? Like, what do the Pacers get if that happens? It's a terrible thing that could happen with very minimal gain, if anything, for this season, especially with the core players that I bring up, because maybe, I mean, Nesmith was struggling for a while, but now that he's played a lot of games in a row, he's had a couple nice ones. Nembhard has put together, since this calendar year, like some nice point guarding package. Siakam was literally an all-star for a 16-win team. You know how rare that is, right? Like, those guys have at least proven enough to me. Maybe Toppin could play 20 minutes in a game a few times, right? Yeah. Just for his own mental of like, okay, great, I'll be ready when next season starts. But now that the playing with Zubac's part of this is over, like there's not a lot for these vets to prove to me anymore, or even really the fans. I think everybody kind of understands what's going on. And so I wonder if that, if at all, influences how the Pacers handle these final 10 games. Maybe one more home win would be nice.
Why is that going to be okay with Adam Silver? Well, you get that $100,000.
I'm not saying to shut them down, to be clear, but like 35 minutes, or the Orlando game, probably doesn't need to happen again.
I will tell you this, with TJ McConnell, the trouble is not only his age, right? And he'd be pissed if he heard us talking this way, but not only his age, but it is his style of play, the speed and the pace in which he relies upon to be a difference maker out there. It's like 0 to 100. And he was
great in the last game also.
Yeah, exactly. And if he falls off of that, Tony, he's not the same. He's not the same player whatsoever, which also begs this question. I kind of flipping the script on your show right here. My apologies.
Good.
But with Zubac, this is something I asked Rick when the deal was made and he called in the show, because I've watched a lot of Clipper basketball and I know a lot about Ivica Zubac, and he has never been the type that would appear to be able, tempo-wise, to be a prototypical big in this system. So my question to you is, and Rick said all the right things as Rick normally does, but my question to you is, are they going to change up their offensive and tempo philosophy coming up next year because of the influence of their new big man and Ivica Zubac?
I wonder how that blend will go. So when he played this year, obviously without Tyrese, he answered a lot of my questions. Like his passing was better than I thought it would be right away. The screening obviously was very additive. So the only fit things I would have left are sort of the tempo and really the spacing element of this, because his longest shot was like 12 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
So what's that going to look like? And because I said this about him for years, we all talked about with Ben Mathurin, fit this, fit that. And it was always mostly tailored conversation around Ben Mathurin's game, slightly changing to fit what the Pacers do, and less so, but this is still a part of it. Do the Pacers need to change anything to fit in Ben Mathurin, right? And so now that is the next conversation with Zubac. What does Zubac have to change of what he's been familiar with the Clippers to fit what the Pacers do versus how much, if any, do the Pacers change, because their system got them to the finals. They were half a game from a championship. They get as many, or if not more, system buckets than any team. It clearly works, but they have a new player in it. Does it work as well with that new guy down there? What do you need to change, if anything? I would try at first to change nothing. See if he can evolve and fit the way you play now as the Pacers. And if it doesn't look right, if something looks a little clunky, if there's too much thinking about getting the ball to a post player, changing things in that way, that would have been the perfect thing to try to evaluate these last 10 games. Unfortunately, that can't happen. But that's how I would approach that.
I think, Tony, that the expectation is that there's going to be a philosophical offensive change here. Now, I will say this. It was funny. It was funny that when Zubac first got here, I don't know if you noticed this or not, there was so much video of him taking threes. And, Tony, I swear to you, I have the NBA package. I'll watch all the late NBA games because I don't go to bed. I've never seen that guy even get close to it. Just like
JV, he's made one as a pro. One.
Well, it was like me visiting like Asia or something. It was like, it's all new to me. It was like foreign territory, but it was just constant with the Pacers, Pacers.com showing video of him shooting threes. That aside for a moment, who knows how a guy can evolve, because we once saw Brook Lopez, who was just a big low post stiff, and then he extended his career on shooting threes. So who knows? But I don't know about you. I just think the essential level of optimum offensive play with this group, and especially with their leader, Tyrese Haliburton, is built upon putting that offensive tempo and speed pressure on the other team. Now, while I think that's necessary, I also wonder if folks inside the organization, Tony, don't feel that some of these injuries, and there have been a lot, are somewhat of a product from a tempo that very few play, and certainly very few are able to play for an extended period of time. It's funny, like at that level, any level of basketball, we all say, hey, man, I want to play fast and offense, and we're going to run, and until you get your ass out there and have to do it. And then some guys simply aren't built that way. I think you find that out. Even with guys that are built that way, you wonder if there's a shelf life, because there are so many games. Look how many games the Pacers played a year ago. You just kind of wonder if there's a shelf life on being able to play that particular style. And that's why I would expect there to be some offensive philosophical reevaluation going on.
Well, and it's not like lost on me that the last two seasons, the earliest part of the season has been among their most injured and challenging, right? Like, you got to get up to speed quick with a new system that can occasionally be demanding on your body. So that is certainly something for them to explore. And part of what Carlisle said when talking about a shorter season was like, we lost a week at training camp, right? How much does that matter when Jay Huff is trying to get in shape and figure this out and all that stuff, right? Like, they've talked about that all on the record. I find that to be an interesting part of this. We got a hard pivot for you here. Yes. Kam Jones, DNP against Orlando. Officially, his contract will not be fully guaranteed heading into the offseason for next year, which is my leapfrogging way of asking. He's only played 30 games, and 10, 15 of those appearances were, the last 2 minutes of an already decided game. What have been your impressions of him? Like, do you have any thought that this guy could be ready to do something more next year? What does he have to prove to you? What have you thought of him so far?
I listened to his coach, Shaka Smart, talking about to me last year, and I thought, this is a guy that is older by collegiate, now professional standards, I guess, right? But I kind of wonder how long it's going to take him. When I saw him out there, it is weird how much more work needs to be done. And I kind of place he and Kobe Brown, Tony, in this category. And they look like that they need, like Rick mentioned, Jay Huff and no training camp. These guys look like they need to lift more. They don't look like riggers of the NBA strong enough. And I don't know if they're good enough to overcome that. It seemed like to me that these guys, especially a guy like Kam Jones, would have been more ready-made strength-wise, at least looked the part of it. And he doesn't, nor does Kobe Brown really look the part. And I kind of wondered if that game in Orlando was a bit of a telltale sign, Tony, about the future for both those dudes with this team. Did you wonder that as well on Monday night?
One more break here, everybody. We got to talk about two more great groups of people. First up is Indeed, a workplace. Chaotic. Your deadlines are stacking up. Your inbox is crazy, and you have a position you need to fill. It's still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs who help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I'm going to be talking to you here, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed according to their data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed-sponsored jobs. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support this show by saying you heard about it on Locked On Pacers. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. Let me also talk to you guys about FanDuel. The tournament is crazy. It's here. It's one of the best times of the year for many. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to the final net cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. The best part, you get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for up to 10 days, for the whole 10 days, excuse me. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, or even same-game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. I did. I thought it was telling. I mean, I even said this after they played the Spurs that Kobe Brown was their last guy in both halves. He only played 13 minutes, which it's 13 minutes, but it was his lowest total since his debut. And I was like, are they going to start to decrease or phase his minutes? Because even if they don't get their top 4 pick, I don't know that he'd be in their plans for next season. They're limited in what they could pay him anyway, right? So what do you like if they like remember his first 5 games, he had 3 double-digit scoring nights, and the rebounding was great. It was like, oh, maybe this is a thing. Once that faded away, I think they kind of got their, okay, this is what this guy is. I mean, it's worth playing him to see if he can be any better, but, you know, he's 26, 27, like it is what it is. And similarly about Kam Jones that, you know, I think they'd like to see some more from him the rest of the way. They have 10 more games to get him on the floor. I'm sure he'll play most of them, but what are they going to find out? Like, he's not going to be better than Quentin Jackson by the end of the season. They already have another point guard on the team.
Yeah. Hey, I look at it this way too, Tony. If you're going to add a young player that needs to develop, you want to add that 1 through 4 that's going to develop on the fly, and you hope they're going to be able to add a little bit of something with the team that you just want to add to. You're not looking for any long-term projects. And I know that sounded bad when I talked about the lack of strength, but just definition-wise, I don't think Kam Jones looks like he is ready for what this team really truly believes that it is. And it'd probably be better for him to go someplace else and, you know, work on an off season, work on that definition, go someplace else, because I just don't think his future nor that of Kobe Brown, Tony, is going to be here. And I just think not only is it the financial aspect, which you rightly suggest, but it's just also, I think, a numbers game with how everybody views this team compared to what they're going to be next year playing as to what they are here in late March.
Jones' guarantee date is after the draft, which is my super uninteresting way of saying it is at least plausible to me that if they don't get their top 4 pick, their youth pipeline is very dry. It would basically be Shepherd, who's not even that young but is inexperienced, Walker, Furphy, who's hurt to start the year, and Jones. And you do need some players to be like ready to grow into bigger roles. If they don't get the top 4 pick, it is possible to me they say, look, he's already half guaranteed. We picked him. We believed in him last year. Let's try one more year and see if we can't get him ready to go. But if they get another prospect in the door, like, it's like, do you really need another, you know, that's maybe too overthinking it. And again, you're not saving that much money by not having him next year. So I might be over discussing this, but now that it's official that he'll be half guaranteed in the offseason and his season's kind of been rocky to say it to this point. He has had some good games. He's had a double-double. His off-ball play in Sacramento was good. He's had some defensive moments, and I was like, oh, look at Kam Jones. But not enough of them, or not consistent enough of them. And his injury might be why his early season was goofy. Sure, but it just hasn't been that impressive to me.
The clock here, just in his life existence here at Indy, is ticking. And I just don't think there's a lot of it, just like there's not going to be any clock on the floor, if that makes sense to you as well. They're just not positioning, and they're certainly not positioning for somebody that still has a lot to go through and a lot to prove. Now, pivot on the pivot really quick here.
Let's go.
All right. So is it okay for me to bring up on my show, which I have, and I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories. I like making fun of them. But there is zero way the NBA is not going to put the complete hose to them on Mother's Day, right? There's no even with the bet. Look at what I don't see it. And maybe that's just because we've been down this path before, and you watch what happened with Dallas. I mean, the NBA, this is another conspiracy theory. You had to make LA better, so you get Nico Harrison to make the dumbest deal of all time. And in return, you end up giving them that pick and Cooper Flagg, which didn't save Nico Harrison's job from making that dumb deal, but at least gave them a little bit of something in return for one of the dumbest deals of all time. So are you confident that even with the best odds possible, that good fortune will beset?
I am not a lottery conspiracy theorist, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm a pure.
That's okay.
Can I? Well, I'm going to walk you through 30 seconds of me talking about it. So
Please.
I want them to do what the NHL did. Did you know that the lottery for the NHL last year was on TV? They did it in ESPN studio. And it was still, the team that won was still like the 12th best odds, like crazy dynamic, but everybody could see it happen, right? And so the NBA does it like that now. They have 14 journalists and 14 representatives from each team in the room. They do the lottery in there. They can all see it. Then they post a video of it, right? So people can see what happened and see the event. But obviously the fact that it's done privately, people will still go, oh, I don't believe that. And the sanctity of this, do it on TV. Do it in front of everybody, man. Like, let everybody see the process happen. Then you're not like, I'm not going to tell you there's no incentive for the NBA to be conspiracy theories, even though I'm not one of those people. But if you want to nip that in the bud, if you're like, just do it the NHL. Then I thought that was actually a pretty good idea.
So that in mind, do you think that this trade deadline deal, to me, you have a season where you lose at this level, you're deserving of a top 4 pick. I don't think this deal, even if Zubac is going to be good, and I believe he's going to be good and he's going to fit and everything, but I don't think this deal is what it ever is going to be if there is not a top 4 included in it. Would you agree?
Yeah, if they didn't get the protections on there, I agree.
Yeah, right.
50%.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you think they land?
It's impossible to know. I mean, flip a coin the day of, right?
Oh, you can throw a dart at a dartboard at this, buddy.
I hope selfishly they get 3 or 4 because it's so that's stupid to say. Obviously, it's better for them if they get 1 or 2 or whatever. But it's very obvious to figure out what they're going to do in the draft if they get 3 or 4. If they get 3, they pick the worst of the top 3 who's still left. If they get 4, they pick Caleb Wilson. Done, easy peasy. And that's my last thing to do here. Every guest the rest of the season. I don't watch like hardly any college basketball. I will when the Pacers are done playing. Yeah. You've probably watched all of the top 4 guys better than me. Do you have a favorite? Do you even really care how they fit with the Pacers?
Here's what I like, and I don't know if this makes a lot of sense. I like Cameron Boozer, and here's why. For a lot of what we just talked about, this team is ready-made. This team doesn't need a project. Now, I don't want to sacrifice being a high-level all-star down the road or a superstar down the road on how somebody fits in as a rookie with a ready-made team. But I think in terms of somebody fitting and moving right in, I think that Cameron Boozer, to me, is just that type of player. I really do. I'd be scared of Darren Peterson, but it's funny. I've been scared of players, Tony, in the past, and everything's turned out to be okay. So he may turn out to be okay, but it seems like that he's got a lot of squawking and talking in his ear, whereas Boozer, on the other hand, if he's got talking in his ear, it seems like that would come from a relatively known and understanding place, his father, who spent so many years there. Plus, I don't think he's that huge of a fall off from what you get with the other 3 guys in terms of athleticism, playing ability, and all that. I just think he's a guy that slots perfectly with this Pacers team, at least sitting here right now and understanding what I understand, and also factoring in what this team is going to look like, because you're going to have to immediately, Tony, step on it. You're going to go full throttle immediately next year, and expectations go from, oh, that's okay in the gap season, to, okay, well, if you're not a top 3 seed, then somebody needs to get punted. That's where we're going to go next year, and I think Boozer fits right in to that particular puzzle. as well as anybody does inside of the top four. How about you?
Well, I have not watched enough of all of them to truly compare them and say. So the answer I've defaulted to is just being a spreadsheet dork about it so far. I'd agree with what you just said. That guy produces every time he plays.
Yeah, I just think from what we just talked about and what this team has, a decision that's going to have to make, I just think you look for somebody that's going to be able to give you something in the moment, ready-made, right? It's like, bringing home dinner that's already, you're not having to prepare it. And granted, I don't know if you end up sacrificing superstardom down the road, but who really knows any of this anyway? But I just think Boozer is known for the Pacers to get in and roll with in what is necessary for them right now. That's kind of how I view it.
Looking forward to watching these guys and forming a real opinion beyond that. But JMV, I've had you for 5.5 minutes longer than I asked you for, so thank you very much.
Good,
Where can, I know
good.
Most people know who you are, but people find you and your daily musings about the Pacers and the rest of Indiana sports teams?
No, we are all over the map here. 3 until 6 coming up on the Fan 93.5 and 107.5 the Fan. And as you well know, because you've been out to live shows before, we like to go out and we like to tip them back and we like to hang out live, especially outside and outdoor places, and have a good time. So, by the way, too, you got to make another live event one of these days.
I do. That was fun. That was like an accident. I happened to be there. Don't tell that hotel, but I sometimes sneak over there to work in between Pacers events in their little business center. Look at that. There's JB.
It is a great hotel right there to do just that. But yeah, come out anytime. Hey, we do appreciate your input and your roles you play on all of our shows here, because you're a hell of a resource for us to have. We're fortunate to have you, buddy. We are.
It's a great time every time. Live is always scary for me, but I'm getting better at it, I think.
You do a great job, pal. Great job.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening today. We'll be back tomorrow talking Pacers. They play the Lakers, first of the LA teams, I believe. I should know that. So LeBron and Luka are in town. How crazy is that? Thank you all for listening today. We'll see you very soon.